I'm just gonna give my 2 cents very quickly on the Elon Musk go fuck yourself like quote. So basically, it sounds like the thing that happened the other day, whatever tweet. I'm not on Twitter, so I couldn't tell you like what he said, or I couldn't see everyone's comments and trying to contextualize it. But it sounds like there was an assumption about a tweet that he liked. They thought that the tweet was anti-Semitic. I think it had something to do with like trying to the erasure of white people or something because of all these like diversity and inclusion initiatives. Now, this is kind of a tricky topic for me because, like, as a person who's like worked in a few different industries where there's like a need for diversity and inclusion, but there's also like a pushback from the people who are there in terms of diversity and inclusion. I want to say, I want to start by saying this: whatever diversity and inclusion initiatives are there right now, they don't work. Like, I've been in meetings at corporations where people are on the diversity and inclusion team, and it's usually like a team of Karens, to be clear. That's like a team of white women who have like email lists and of like qualified candidates who could potentially be good for the company. Like, they never reach out to them, like they never call them or try to get them to come and interview or try them out on teams. Like, it's not about like we know where the people are, and like we actually have always known where the people are who could potentially have the talent. That's another thing that's also not cut and dry. Like, just because you went to Harvard or you went to Stanford, that doesn't necessarily mean that you would be great for like a particular team at Goldman Sachs, a particular team at Facebook, where at Tesla, whatever. Like, you could have gone to like Louisiana State and be really effective at Goldman Sachs or something, or Tesla or whatever company, Google. It really depends on like who you are, like your work ethic, your talent. So like college is like there's a lot about like pedigree and going to name brand schools and like what it means, but there's also kind of, I think as we get more, as time goes on, you will start to understand more and more about the intersectionality of identity of all of these people, like everyone. And this, for so long, we've only had this like cut and dry mold of like white people and white men specifically in positions of power, in positions of prestige. And those men historically kind of like don't know how to work with other groups. Cause like all they have are shows like The Office and Stanley. He's like the one black guy at The Office. There aren't any other black people who work there. And there's like the one Mindy Kaling, the one weird Indian woman who like doesn't even the Indian people don't identify with her. So that's the only like version of color that, and that's like all over America. But obviously, like if you even look at the breakdown of like who's in America right now, you understand that like there are so many groups that are like just not represented at all. And so there's all these things about intersectionality and identity, like if you are a queer person, if you're like a disabled person, if you're a black person, all of these things, like a lot of these groups don't even try to go into these industries anymore because they already know that the industries are going to be exclusive. So that's like the big idea around diversity and inclusion. Now, also to be clear, in a lot of these like sought after roles like product managers and like software engineers, the people who are like the diversity people, right? Like just being black isn't going to get you into Google. Like you'd have to have skills and you'd have to be like really really good. Like, so, like, I think the way that you'll hear like it kind of sounds like Elon Musk as well, like talking about these things. It feels like they're just assuming that like the black guy who's like drinking 40s on the street now has decided he wants to like work at Google because he's black, and so fuck the diversity and inclusion initiatives. Like, that ain't really what's happening. Like, anyway, but I think a bigger point to this is he was talking about like the erasure, and I think it's kind of when I made it that other video that was about Ann Coulter's blog where she was like, first she came for the working class whites and nobody said anything. I also want to say this that is very strange because like I've understood the significance of representation. That's why I created this channel. That's why I keep making videos of me talking about shit, okay, and just doing regular shit in the regular world so that you see like this is a real existence. This is a real existence. Being a part of the middle class is a real existence. This like, this is not new. Also, this is something that has existed for a very long time. Anyone can get this if you're in America. Anyway, so where was I going with this? I had a point and then I just lost the point. Oh, so I created this channel for representation of just like kind of a pretty bland like middle class experience, right? But so what does this have to do with what does this have to do with what Elon Musk is saying in the advertisers? Now, advertisers and companies like Disney have a different purpose. Like, their whole purpose is to like look at whoever they're looking at the demographics. Like, they care about census data. So the census is this like, how do you say it? It's like a statistical breakdown of like the cultural and ethnic breakdown of the people in the country. This is important because like if like 25% of the population speaks like catalog or something, and that's like some Asian language, you need a whole bunch of services that are available for that population of people so that they can be successful in America. So companies like Disney care about those sort of demographics and diversity and it's kind of diversity and inclusion, but it's more like the census data. Like, kids are the ones who are going to see Disney movies. They need to know who the kids are. All of the kids aren't white. A lot of the kids don't identify as white. They identify as like all of these things. It's like a vast diversity of things that people identify as. Now, if you haven't noticed, Disney only has like one black princess, and that's Tiana. And I'm sorry, but I don't really like Tiana, so I personally don't identify with Tiana. Now, that's the only one. There's no other black Disney character. They're all like slaves, like Addie. So that means that America has been like socially introduced to black characters via like Addie and the other like slave dolls. So there's no like representatives of like Kelly Stamps, like me. Who would be another one? Amanda, Amariana, her, Kiana, Naomi. Like, where are the Barbies of us? There aren't any. There ain't no Barbies of us. So we have to have YouTube channels so that you actually know that we like exist in real life, and we have to continuously come on every day because like we are literally creating. Like, we are the representatives that all y'all have been like, where are they? We've been here. They just never give us any opportunities at all. So that's why you don't see any Barbies like us, even though this is not new. Like, there have been like black women who've had apartments and who have like regular jobs outside of sex work. That's not a new concept. It's just that America refuses to like put that on any poster or any sort of like movie, any experience, just fucking nothing, because of anti-blackness. But that's a whole different story for another day. Anyway, so basically Disney has realized that like, oh shit, like our bottom line is being impacted if we keep making movies about all white people. But also you'd have to be very specific at this point, because even all white people are not a monolith. So I would be willing to get on board with the people who said that movie Wish probably sucked. Like, I'm not going to go see it. But also I would say like, there's probably, if you're like a little kid at this point, probably Wish is like all the Disney movies that are out are probably like decent if you've seen all the ones that are already out. Like, if you've already seen all of the old Disney movies from the 90s, the Snow White, the Beauty and the Beast, the Aladdin, all of those had like really good moral and ethical stories about like different cultures. Like, Aladdin was about an Indian culture, like Belle was about a country girl from a small town. Like, all of these stories told like different experiences from different places. So like, you don't have to if you watch those movies, then you also watch these new, like, they're all like diversity movies, then you'd get like a broad range of experiences. So I don't know if that movie's bad. I think I liked, I saw that Misha did a take on the Wish movie. I'll include that in the description box for you to see it for yourself. But basically, from what Elon Musk said, it caused a lot of companies to want to distance themselves from him, and so they said they were pulling advertising from X as a platform because people see him as racist, and they're not going to support companies that support him, and that's a problem. Like, if all the parents basically no longer go support Disney at all, Disney will go out of business as a company. And if they're doing that because what they feel that what Elon Musk said is fucked up, that's a real issue. Now, on the other side, Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world, but what he said in this talk is that like he's not going to be bullied. So if they pull the advertising from X as a platform, X will fail. And that's true. If there's no advertising dollars, it doesn't sound like Elon Musk is going to spend his own money to keep this shit going. So there just won't be a company anymore. And I think that this is kind of funny, just to watch it all play out, because kind of what we're seeing is like this almost like a reinforcement, it's like almost like a reinforcement tactic to try to get people to do certain shit. Oh, if you say this and we disagree with you, now we're pulling money from you. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Yale and Harvard, they had these buses that came on campus, and the buses had pictures of all the students who were protesting the Palestinian massacre, and they were saying we aren't going to work with these students. And they put their whole faces on buses and just drove them around the campus like, we know who you are. And it's like, wow, so you're saying that people who are condemning the fact that innocent Palestinians are being murdered, those are the people who you don't want to work with. Also, I mean, it's like a two-sided thing, because like, yes, Israelis are being taken hostage, and there are Jewish people who are under attack, but also Palestinians are and have been for a while. So this is like a two-sided complex like issue. It isn't just as simple as like you have to support Jewish people only, and it's a complicated situation. Also, yeah, I don't see the side of like we support Hamas, except for it sounds like Sneeko supports Hamas, but it doesn't really sound like anybody else is like, yes. I would say like maybe Andrew Tate took a more moderate stance of why Hamas was necessary, and I think some of those points about occupation make sense, just in terms of like, if you like, war is brutal, and there's typically only two sides. So there's the side that is fighting for what they want, and there's the side that's fighting for what they want, and they do not agree on the thing. That's the whole reason that there's a war. That's where we are in this situation. So people are going to die. Civilians are going to die. That's just how it is. The point here, though, is that now it's become a geopolitical thing where like companies and advertising dollars have gotten into it. Students' job prospects have gotten into it. All of this out of a war that's like not even happening here. It's fascinating. Also, I think and it sounds like this is actually going to happen, because they already pulled the advertising dollars from X, and literally like this is kind of a day by day thing. Like when people are thinking about monetization strategies on YouTube, what they're actually saying, like YouTube gets money because like it's owned by Google, right? Google's like the main company that kind of owns all the shit. They own Gmail, they own YouTube, they own Google Search, Google Platform, they own Google Docs, Google Drive, messaging, Android. They have all of these companies that are all under like, is it called, I think it's called Alpha now. Alpha is like the main company, and then there's all the Google affiliated companies underneath, but including YouTube. Like YouTube is one of the companies owned by Google. And so, like, when people are getting demonetized on on YouTube, it's because Alpha, the company, or Google is saying, like, yeah, like, our advertisers have a problem with what you're doing. They have a problem with what you're saying. And they're not going to give us money to spend on advertising if you continue with this behavior. So we can't support this, and we're not monetizing you. And we need to make that clear. But at the same time, if you look at like what the Daily Wire has done, there's a bunch of conservative groups. It does feel like a lot of the conservative groups are the ones that are being shadow banned, and they're being silenced, and they're being like deplatformed and stuff. But then there's like conservative companies who are coming out, and now they're spending money and supporting conservative creators to now push that money back into the ecosystem. So all of it together is kind of like this really interesting space where no matter where you fall geopolitically or in terms of like religious values, there's space and there's a side for you, because there are advertising dollars who like to support conservatives. There are advertising dollars that like to support liberals. I feel like in terms of moderates, I don't know who supports us. Maybe nobody. But I know that there's a need to like continue to have space for the moderates who like see both sides, but like we don't necessarily agree with like both sides all the way. So I just kind of wanted to briefly explain that because I feel like it was this gray area that I haven't seen anyone like me talk about. So yeah.